A barn burner of a game last night in the AFC North, but for the Bengals, doesn't matter how good it was, they still lost. We'll talk about that more here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome to the new Locked On NFL, where we bring you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with the help of our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I'm the host, the barber, Tony Wiggins, joined today by my OG brother, Matt Williamson. That's right. He's the expert of the day. And here are some things that we're going to talk to you about today. The Chiefs. They lead our Sunday preview as we whip around the league. Since the Chiefs in the lead, everything else, they might as well lead our third segment. The Cowboys, I put LOL because they made a trade that everybody thinks is a head scratcher. I'm going to explain why I think they did it, though, and I'll see if Matt agrees with me. Christian McCaffrey set to make his debut. I was going to say he came back, but he hasn't played this year, and he's going to play for the first time. And the 2-point fallout from last night's game. We're going to make sure we get to that with Matt, and we appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day and being an everyday here on Locked On NFL, which is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to tune in again early on Monday morning with Locked On NFL and Tyler Rowland, the madman, for more NFL coverage. Today's episode is sponsored and brought to you by LinkedIn. That's right. There is no other place for you to go when you're posting your job and you have a small business and you need to post your job. Make sure you go to LinkedIn and do that because that's the best place to go. LinkedIn is where all of those prospective clients will be. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonNFL. Terms and conditions apply. Matt Williamson, is Friday, man, and that means we wake up after a Bengals loss. I feel bad for them because I have seen Joe Burrow look up into the sky as time expired so much. They gotta be the worst, the team with the worst luck at the end of ball games.
Yeah, but I also think some of that stems from not running the football and controlling the physicality of the game, and also not being super stout on defense. And Hendrickson aside, who's your closers, to put a team away, other pass rushers. So I think part of it's just the way they're built. They're asking so much of the quarterback position and their top wide receiver. But I'm with you. I mean, some of the body language between Burrow and now Chase just going, what more can I do? You know what I mean? Over these last couple of games, I mean, what more do you want?
I mean, what do you want from me? They went out and they drafted Amarius Mims, 6'7", 342 pounds, and he's their third biggest lineman. I'm serious. They got Trent Brown, and I don't know if everybody's healthy. And then they got Baby Zeus, Orlando Brown Jr., and they still just can't line up and just run the football and manage the game. You're going to hear the frustration in Jake Lithgow's voice here. Locked On Bengals late last night.
The current theme for the Cincinnati Bengals this season is coming up just short. Unfortunately, that happens again on Thursday Night Football as they fall to the Ravens, failing to convert a 2-point conversion toward the end of regulation. I'm Jake Lisco from the Locked On Bengals podcast, and at 4-6, the Bengals' path to the playoffs is perilous at this point, going 0-2 to the Baltimore Ravens, falling to 1-2 in the AFC North. The game they were leading by 14 in the second half before Chase Brown fumbled the ball and Baltimore scored on 4 straight possessions to take the lead, with Burrow and the Bengals needing a last-second touchdown to have a chance to take the lead in regulation. They failed the 2-point conversion, unfortunately. Instead, Terry McCauley, the consultant for officiating on the broadcast, saying there could have been 2 different penalties called on the play. But that aside, the Bengals had their opportunities to pull away more than they did early in this game or to get a single stop down the stretch. And they didn't do those things. And as a result, they fall to 4-6 with close losses to the Ravens twice and the Kansas City Chiefs hanging over their head.
So there's a little positivity for you right there. They played the Ravens twice, and they played the Chiefs, and they lost all three. That's nothing to be ashamed of, right? And they're 4-6. They could very easily, if you flip that around, be 7-4 or 6-4 or whatever, or something close to it, right? But still, I don't have a problem with the 2-point conversion. I asked you that before we started the show, Matt. But here's what I have a problem with. You had the momentum. You had them on their heels. You line up and then you call a timeout, and then you come back and you go for it. Instead of just, you got one-on-one coverage, Jamar Chase. I don't care what you got to do. I just throw it over there. He figure out a way to find out how to catch it. And they didn't even look at him.
That's a great call, because, I mean, even just listen to the commentators. They're like, oh, they're motioning it around. They're getting chased one-on-one. And the whole planet's going. So, Wig, I bring this up a lot. I was at Pitt with Larry Fitzgerald, and we did that every time we were anywhere close to the goal line. And we can put it up on the scoreboard. Hey, we're throwing a fade to Larry. It doesn't make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get that stud receiver one-on-one against Dion or Mel Blount, it doesn't matter. You give them the ball with your best chance to win. And they got it set up formationally and called the timeout. I had a real problem with that when it happened too. I mean, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's an easy little detail to overlook. I mean, you could complain or harp on, man, hands to the face masks on Burrow. And frankly, I had a problem with that, because refs shouldn't miss those things, or should you go for two or not? The last note I wanted to say, though, too, is, he mentioned that they're 1-2 in the division, and that's a problem. But the bigger problem is they already have 4 conference losses, because I don't think they're winning the North. They got to get in as a wild card. Yeah. But 2-4 in the AFC right now, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a bit of a problem, but here's the good side of it. I'm trying to be on the bright side a little bit here for the Bengals. Yeah. The bright side of it is that prior to last night's game, if the playoffs started, they probably would be in there, because the only other teams hanging around are Denver and the Chargers. Everybody else, their records are you got a couple of really good teams, and then you got like 9 teams that have only won 2 games, and a bunch of them in the AFC. So you got a chance later on in the year without having to play Baltimore again. I think they still got Pittsburgh. At least they've got like a bunch of their real hard games out of the way. Now Baltimore's sitting pretty, and they finally got back a win. But I was just sitting there thinking that if they get this 2-point conversion, the sky's going to fall in Baltimore tomorrow, because that would be 4 losses for a team that everybody thinks is one of the best teams in the league. But it didn't happen. And listen to Kevin Oestreicher.
The Baltimore Ravens win an unreal comeback game over the Cincinnati Bengals in week number 10. I'm Kevin Oestreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens. 35-34, the final score after Cincinnati misses a 2-point conversion that would have put them up with just about 30 seconds to go in the game. Unreal performance from Lamar Jackson. The offense struggled early, but they came back with a vengeance. The defense, they ended up not really having a great game overall, but they got some timely stops, including a huge Marlon Humphrey forced fumble on Chase Brown that turned the fortunes in this game. Baltimore moves to 7-3, have a mini bye before their big Week 11 matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. For more on the Ravens and their big Week 10 win, be sure to check out the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of Locked On Podcast Network.
Can Lamar have too many options now? Because early in the game, it looked like they were trying to show all their trinkets and toys off, and they weren't real successful on offense. And then at some point, he just took over. And by the way, I was just sitting there waiting for him to lose, for everybody to say, Lamar fails again. He doesn't come through in the clutch. and come on, man. What else can he do? What else can he do?
I mean, he's playing at an elite level. Both those quarterbacks are. And trust me, as a Steelers guy, I'm sitting there going, oh, great. It's wonderful having these two in the division for the next decade. And I think it is going to go down as, they were really pumping up the rivalry. And I think that is a really good developing rivalry. I mean, the first time these teams played was the most points in the league. I mean, it's not Steelers, Ravens, Hines, Ward, first 1 to 13 wins. I mean, it's 2 quarterbacks airing it out in the North, and it's really fun to watch. But you're right. I mean, the first half, it was kind of like, let's get everybody involved, as opposed to Lamar, it's you and Derek, and everybody else is along for the ride,
Yep, and that's what you have to do. I'm all about players over plays. You brought up a point. We've been talking about, over weeks, for months. Me and you have discussed this, and I discussed it with Chris Carter too yesterday on yesterday's show. This old school thing, all of these teams that are real successful, even the Chiefs, who we'll talk about later, they're winning in an old school type way. And when you said about Fitzgerald and the analogy we use with him and Chase, where you got to go. I just go back to Washington and Miami in the Super Bowl when I was a kid. It was 4th and 1. You knew John Riggins was running behind. That's one Hall of Famer running behind Russ Grimm. He's another Hall of Famer. Both first ballot guys. And that's exactly what happened. Everybody knew it. The Dolphins knew it, and he popped a 43-yard touchdown. It's like if it's good, they can't stop it. You got to go to your bread and butter when it counts. You my bread and butter on Friday right here, Matt. You know that here in the barbershop. We're going to click on over and talk about Christian McCaffrey coming back, and can he make a big difference for the 49ers? Well, we'll discuss it here in just a second on Locked On NFL. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Arena Club. For most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on a Luka or Ellie or Mahomes rookie card just isn't in the cards, no pun intended. I love collecting. I love it. But that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I listed was a hit from last week's Arena Club slap pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Slap packs are revolutionized the repack game for Arena Club. That's right. They're doing it with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slap pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL. Code LockedOnNFL for 10% off your first purchase. And today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Hims. Guys, sometimes in intimate moments, things happen, especially when you're getting a little older, right? And we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom, where Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. That's right. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to the doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping outside your front door. Start your free visit online today at hims.com/lockedon. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The product mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety for effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with the healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. It ain't hard to talk NFL football. That was a hell of a segue. I got to admit, man. We always do stuff like that, but it isn't hard to talk football with my man, Matt Williamson, because Matt Williams is here. I'm going to pull his knowledge out of his brain from a scouting perception and talk about the Dallas Cowboys and try to put a little positive spin on what they did at the trade deadline. But first, we got to talk about one of the best players in the National Football League. I heard people saying, oh, it's over. He's going overseas to get stuff done that he can't get done in the States. And well, guess what? Christian McCaffrey's window opened back up and he came back to practice. I thought he was going to be in practice a little bit longer, but guess what? The boys for the 49ers, Locked On 49ers, my man Peacock, your partner, they're going to tell you what is the deal with Christian McCaffrey.
And the big news on this Monday, bonus practice day for the San Francisco 49ers as they get ready for Week 10. The practice window has officially opened for Christian McCaffrey, and he is coming back, and he will be on the field. He already was on the field for practice on Monday, and that's huge for the 49ers, who have opened the practice window for running back Christian McCaffrey, and will no doubt add a huge element to the 49ers offense when he's ready to go.
Excited to get Christian McCaffrey back. This is a guy that we've seen, again, or not just him, but he has helped the 49ers be so good in the red zone, and that's definitely been down, Simon, has been something that a lot of the fan base, a lot of you and I have kind of worried about to start this season. And when you look back on some of these losses by the 49ers, an opportunity to put up a little, just a few more points, they can easily be 6-2, just as much they are 4-4 right now.
Matt, the 49ers, when you watch them play, that kid runs the ball. It's like the old Denver Bronco thing, like, well, you can just plug any running back in there. The stats are not why Christian McCaffrey has been missed. It's the attention that people now can transfer to other people and take them out of the game.
100%. And Croc beat me to it because I looked it up because I knew it was bad, but they're 28th in red zone effectiveness. And that is not a San Francisco Shanahan McCaffrey stat. I mean, I probably have missed one, but since they traded for him, I think he scored like in every game. The guy finds the end zone at a ridiculous rate. And last segment we were just talking about Larry and Jamar Chase and Lamar and Henry. Sometimes when you have a special player, that's all that matters. And McCaffrey's at that level. He's one of those guys. And the big key is that, with all respect to Mason and whoever the ball carriers are, or those Denver running backs that you alluded to, is McCaffrey does it all. If you're going to give me a heavy box or play heavy to stop the run, he's as good a slot receiver as there is in the league. Compared to other wideouts, so there's no real answer. Who's going to guard him one-on-one? What linebacker is going to guard him one-on-one? There isn't one, and no one does a better job of creating those mismatches than Shanahan.
No one does a better job. And I'm going to confess something, and I have to do this, one, because I love doing scouting stuff with you. And very rarely in that realm of our game do people, and I've done this since I was a preteen, 8-9 years old. I had stacks and stacks of these books, all with all these prospects in it. I was not a big fan of Christian McCaffrey coming out of college. It had nothing to do with him. It's just that he came out of college doing the same thing I saw Reggie Bush doing, and I was underwhelmed by Reggie Bush, who I thought was going to be great. You couldn't tell me back then, when Christian McCaffrey was at Stanford, that he was going to end up having probably a better career than Reggie Bush. He has. Yeah. And it's because of all of those things that you're talking about, where he's not – Reggie ain't a one-trick pony. But McCaffrey is like an every-trick pony. There's nothing he doesn't do at all. He runs with power. He runs with speed, elusiveness. He can play slot wide receiver. And the most important thing is when you put him on a team with a whole bunch of great players, they can become even greater. Debo's even greater. And he's another guy who falls into that same category of being a Swiss Army knife with a little bit of Heinz Ward in him. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about him is he misses McCaffrey. Things aren't as open for Debo without Christian being in the game. Talk about teams missing something. Dallas Cowboys are going to be missing Dak Prescott for a while. We know he has a hamstring injury. I'm not going to ever downplay a dude's injury like some people on TV say, oh, he ain't that bad. He could have played. Well, I heard he tore his hamstring off the bone. That is a bad thing. So they make a trade at trade deadline, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to go after an offensive line, which is very, very hard to find at the trade deadline. The Minnesota got Cam Robinson. You'd think Dallas would have been able to do that, but they went and traded for Jonathan Mingo. And they gave up a third round pick, a third or a fourth round pick in compensation. And people were like, wait a minute, all of these other guys are going for late round pick. Why are you trading for a wide receiver at this point? I'm going to get your opinion on it first, and then I'm going to give you my spiel.
So every organization views this differently. But when you build a scout, there's a database in every 32 room, buildings. And that database starts with the background, the college scouting report, all those things. Apparently, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that Dallas must have loved Mingo coming out of school.
There you go.
And they're looking at it, and there's some truth to this, that, you brought up Debo. I think he's a lot closer to Debo than he is Ayuk. I mean, you're not going to just line him up the line of scrimmage and beat press man coverage, like Carolina so often did. You got to move him around. You got to give him the ball in space, which is easier said than done. But I'm sure Dallas said, I still love this guy. They screwed him up. I can get him at a discount. We had a late first, early second round grade on him. We can get him for a fourth. That's a bargain, right? We'll see. And this is not a trade deadline, get you through the rest of the year type of move. This is for next year. Yeah.
Yep.
I understand it. It still seems rich, but I understand it.
No, but I totally agree with you, and I wanted you to say that because coming from you, who've done this and knows how that works, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I didn't call you, and
No,
you're my
right.
witness. I didn't call you yesterday and say, "Is this what?" But I did reach out to somebody and say, "Oh, they ain't got nothing to do with this year. Dak's hurt." They said somebody in there stood on the table for that kid, and Jerry remembered on draft night they probably considered him taking him in round 2. And they got beat to the punch. And now they're going to chalk everything up to him playing for an organization that has bad leadership, doesn't have any culture, and got a young quarterback that nobody believes in. That's all they're going to do. They're going to say, nope, we're going to get him in our system and try to undo some of that stuff that has been done to him so that next year coming out of preseason, we got him and we got CeeDee Lamb moving forward. And that's good because now we got a young guy on a rookie contract who we believe we can shape and mold into our image. And that's why. So I'm giving the Dallas Cowboys a little bit of a break here, and I'm not slamming them like a lot of other people have. All right, third segment's coming up here. What we're going to do is we're going to do our whip around the NFL and let Matt tell us who's going to win these games. You notice I didn't say make picks. I said Matt's going to tell us who's going to win these games. He ain't going to guess. He's going to tell y'all who's going to win the games. All right, and talk about something that could be problematic for Patrick Mahomes, but he's always had bad ankles, so it ain't stopped him yet. As he gets older, is that going to be an issue? We'll discuss that and more here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. That's right. LinkedIn is where you need to go and post your jobs when you are hiring for a small business and you want to find quality professionals that are right for that role. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're not looking, or you are looking in the wrong place, right? You're not looking in the right place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. If I told you I opened a barbershop with 10 chairs and I filled 6 of them in 2 days because of LinkedIn, would you believe me? You should, because it's true. All right. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's right. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. Put the NFL on it. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's show is also brought to you and sponsored by our friends over at FanDuel. You need to get ready to tackle the NFL action this weekend with FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can get $5. All you got to do is bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's very important. You got to win it now, but you'll get $150 in bonus bets with a $5 bet. That's right. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. You ain't got to fumble and bumble through your phone. All you got to do is whenever you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, the fun segment begins here on Locked On NFL. It doesn't end for you ever on Locked On NFL because you can check out a double dose with Tyler Rowland, the Madman, coming at you every single morning, 5 days a week, just like me. But he'll give you a double shot of espresso and wake you up. I'll have you in your car on lunch break listening to the Barbershop Show like you are probably doing right now. Twice a day on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you tap in so you do not miss an episode. Those Chiefs just keep winning, man. It's ugly. At some point, you're going to have someone say this. I never subscribe to this because I always really do look at things at one game at a time. I know organizations always say that they're looking at things one game at a time because it's what they're trying to do, but it's inevitable that you don't. There are going to be some people soon say this, Matt. They need to at least lose one game before they get to the playoffs and go on and get it out of their system. I cannot stand when people do that crap, man. You know it's coming, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this organization knows how to handle success. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
they've been around the block. They're the two-time champs. They're going for number 3, never been done before. If they could mix that in with an undefeated season, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah, that's like me telling Floyd Mayweather, hey man, you might want to roll your shoulder and duck a little bit when he'd be like, oh really? Oh, thank you for your advice, sir. If I want to listen to experts talk about the Chiefs, I'll listen to the guys from Locked On Chiefs talk about Mahomes and his ankles real quick. And that might be a problem where it's not a problem now. Those loose ankles, I had never heard that term, by the way, loose ankles, but I heard of loose hips. I ain't never heard of loose ankles, but you're about to hear it now here on Locked On Chiefs.
Chiefs get their first matchup against the Denver Broncos and their new quarterback coming up next. And we start where we have to with Patrick Mahomes, the magic ankle, and the rest of the injury list that will have a factor on this ball game. Patrick, people have been calling him magical just for his ankles all week. I'm ready for it not to be magical. I just want it to be solid. I don't want any more worry about ankles, high, low, or otherwise. Can we get that sorted out?
Andy Reid would argue with you and say that he doesn't want it solid because Patrick has the loosest ankles in the NFL that he thinks. Which, you know, with all the problems that he's had with his ankles, I think that probably a solid ankle would probably be a bad thing for him because I just think that that's probably easier to get injured than what he's dealing with as is. You hear what happened to him. I mean, he talked about it after the game. He talked about it, you know, a little bit this week. And it's great that he's going to be okay. He's probably going to be dealing with pain in that ankle for, I would say, this week, maybe next week, and maybe a couple weeks after. It's going to be sore.
Matt, I saw when he was running and all of a sudden he took that misstep and I thought it was his hip. Matter of fact, I'm 55 years old. When he did it, I got out of the bed and started stretching and walking around the room and start limping because I'm like, ooh, you know, everything you see now, the visual, you can almost feel it in your bones. Is that a problem for them moving forward, or is it just something they just got to deal with?
Wig, I hate to do this to you, but I mean, I've learned from doing this job for so long that commenting on injuries doesn't do me any good because I know that I don't know, you know, and I've been in I've been in there with doctors that do know, but I will say everyone's dealing with something. You know, I mean, Burrow's hand's all messed up. You know, I mean, your guy Lawrence has a bad shoulder. I mean, like, they're all dealing with something. I bet Herbert's foot from the preseason's not fine. You know, like, he's not unique here. We just have a microscope on him.
Yeah, we just got a microscope on him. I think what it is, though, is everyone, you know, they keep winning even when they don't play well. And I think everyone is just looking for that big thing to drop. What is it going to be? What is it going to be is going to knock them off of their square. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, it's funny to me, though, how you can take an injury and give it a word like magic. You know what I'm saying? Because you're looking at the healing part of it. They're so positive. They're looking at the healing aspect of it. You can give no positive nickname to a negative situation, but hey, man, it is what it is. That's going to be our game of the week, so I'm going to go ahead and get right to that right now. Tampa Bay, they played really, really spirited ball the other day and found some help at wide receiver, but they are running into it by going and having to play the Chiefs this weekend. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's Denver.
Yeah, they played last weekend,
Yeah, Denver.
Hung around top.
Yeah, they did hang around. That's what I meant. But Denver, and we ain't gonna edit it out. We're gonna leave that in there because that's what we do. It's Denver. That's the game of the week. I think the Broncos are shorthanded, but can they do what Tampa did and play really, really, really tough defense and try not to beat themselves and hang around?
I mean, the Chiefs don't blow anybody out, but I still think they're a noticeably better team than Denver. Plus, they don't lose division games ever. I mean, they know their opponents so well. I think Kansas City's in great shape here. And real quick, back to the Bengals that we started the show, I still think Cincinnati is one of the 7 best teams in the AFC.
No doubt.
And I don't think Denver is.
Right. And you know, that separation might come later. The one good thing I'll say about the Bengals, even though they lost, that's probably the best I've seen them play. That's the Bengals team that I was hoping to see since they lost the week 1 game to the Chiefs that we're talking about now. I got to do it because it's on the schedule, man. There's a clunker going on in Germany. Giants at the Panthers. Yuck.
Real yuck. I can't pick the Panthers for anything, but I am a little excited about their youth movement on offense. You know, it's going to be Brooks and Hubbard and Sanders and Coker and Leggett and Young, and maybe they can grow into not being terrible.
They got a lot of people that scouts have loved over the last 3 years.
Mhm.
I tell you that. Even Iggy on the offensive line, a lot of bodies. I was a big Hunt fan. This kid, the guard they signed out of Miami last year.
Yeah.
So they got the numbers, but it's just that they got to put it together. Patriots. Speaking of yuck, the Patriots at the Bears. Bears can't lose. If they lose this game, Eberflus, I think, is out.
Yeah, I think his seat is getting really hot and noticeably so. And May's going to be really wound up for this one, but I still think the Bears squeak it out, but probably not as pretty as Bears fans would like.
By the way, on yesterday's show, I took a clip from Peacock and Williamson where you said that the Patriots is the job that you probably want out of all the 2-win teams.
Yeah.
And me and Chris Carter both agreed with you.
Okay.
Bills and Colts. Buffalo is quietly 7-2 again. People were on them early, and then they lost a couple of games. It didn't look good. They're 7-2. They're sitting right there, probably as the 2 seed right now in the AFC.
Yeah, and I think the Bills win this one big. I think we're close to getting to that point. I just mentioned Young in Carolina. I think we're getting close to that point where you put Richardson back in for the see where you're at,
See where you're at. The Vikings come to Jacksonville, and it's looking more and more like Trevor Lawrence will not go.
It sounds like he might get shut down for the year. Or am I kind of exaggerating that?
No, you're not exaggerating. That's a real cryptic possibility going on around here.
Yeah, we talk about hot seats. I mean, your town's the hottest, and I think Minnesota rolls them.
No doubt about it. We've already looked at Broncos and the Chiefs, so let's go. The Saints and the Falcons. This is a rivalry game, so you can never say never, especially after a coaching change. I just don't see where the Saints have anything for Atlanta.
No, and all the wrong vibes, getting rid of Lattimore and all the people like Cam Jordan are upset. The leaders, and there's really good mojo in Atlanta right now. I also don't think this is a close game.
Those Bucks, I remember, with that toughness, they're going to need it because Christian McCaffrey comes back and he's coming to Tampa for a 1:00 afternoon game. Now we can finally talk about Tampa. That was a spirited effort that they put up against the Chiefs. San Francisco with McCaffrey might be a little different story.
Yeah, I think Tampa's really interesting. If they can keep their head above water until Mike Evans gets back and, maybe make some noise in that conference. I'd still like the Niners to win this, but you mentioned it. I mean, they almost pulled off winning in Kansas City, and earlier this year they won in Detroit. I mean, that's as hard as it gets.
That's as hard as it gets, and something sneaky happened. They found out how to win without their 2 top receivers, one of which is a Hall of Famer in Mike Evans. They found out who can play. Now all you got to do, if they can get him back in, those guys just got to keep that performance up. Really interesting game.
They got no line now, Wig.
No line at all. Interesting game. Steelers at 6-2, at the Commanders at 7-2.
So I'm probably looking at this through black and gold colored glasses, but I had to pick this game. I had to pick this game for my other shows, and I picked the Steelers to win 26-23. I don't feel strong about that. I really think whoever wins this game will be taken much more seriously by the national media and by the way teams are viewed. But Tomlin after a bye and Tomlin against rookie quarterbacks, and Daniels is not the normal rookie quarterback. He just has a remarkable record against those type of teams. So I think the Steelers win one, but I'm really excited just even as a fan to watch this one.
I'm going to put
Washington's impressive.
Yeah, I'm going to put the onus on Patrick McQueen because I know those edge rushers aren't going to get past the armpits of Jaden and let him have these escape routes. I think it's going to be on that middle. I think it's going to be whoever's trying to spy him, it's going to be up to them to keep him at bay. The Yuck Titans, I said it about all the 2-win teams so far. They go to the Chargers. I think this game sets up. This is the Joe Alt Bowl, by the way, but I think this sets up for the Titans to get taken behind the woodshed.
Yeah, I think both lines of scrimmage does not favor Tennessee at all. And they're giving more and more to Herbert. I mean, he's throwing the ball a lot more than any of us thought, and he's doing it really, really well.
Here come the Jets on their little winning streak, right? Everybody's a little happy because they got it, they got it back on track a little bit, but they're going to Arizona to play that Cardinals team that you and I are we like the GM, but we're a little bit lukewarm on them, but they keep winning, and all of a sudden they're winning the NFC West.
Yeah, I know the Jets are favored in this game, and I don't quite understand why. I mean, they're coming off a long week, but that win against the Texans was not impressive to me. I mean, there was not a well-played football game, and I think Arizona is just a really well-coached team on both sides of the ball and win at home.
Eagles going to Dallas. I think the Eagles smoke them.
Me too. I think it's really that simple without Dak. I mean, even if Parsons were to come back, Philly's playing really well.
Speaking of the Texans, they host Detroit, and the Texans have some problems where Detroit is strong. They can't block anybody. I think Aaron Glenn feasts on the Houston offensive line.
100%. I mean, I know it's in Houston, but that running game and offensive line and physicality that Detroit brings on both sides of the ball travels really well.
Yes, it does. Monday night game, Dolphins, another 2-16, going to the LA Rams. Of course, it's a winnable game. I just think Miami, they got too many Ferraris and not enough dump trucks. I got that from somebody.
I don't have a strong feeling on that one. I mean, Miami's been very close the last 2 weeks, and they're another team that doesn't close people out. But I think I'm just going to bet on Stafford and Kupp and McVay and Puka and that offense to put up a lot of points.
No doubt about it, Matt. Have a good weekend. You guys have a great weekend, too. Locked on NFL will be back on Monday. Make sure you check in on all your postcasts Sunday after the game. Check those out and look for any breaking news. Make sure you tap into Locked on NFL wherever you get your podcast. Take care.